The West Tigers, a formation of two former big Sydney teams, one from Balmain, the other from the western suburbs. This is the entire history of the West Tigers, from a deject merger club to somehow winning a premiership, to consistently missing out in finals and making it back to finals, and now 13 years of depression. Yes, this is the story of the West Tigers. Before we start with the West Tigers, we've got to start with the two teams that merged to become the Tigers. So we'll go through a brief history of them. First up, we've got Balmain. Balmain are a pretty decent team. They would call Leichhardt Oval their home in 1939. I don't know what they played before that, to be honest. But they would win 11 premierships, winning 6 of those in a 9-year span between 1915 and 1924. But they wouldn't win another one until 1939. And their last would be in 1969. They would finish runners-up 9 times, win the minor premiership 7 times, and win 4 wooden spoons. A record that the West Tigers have almost equalled. The Western Suburbs Magpies, the team that's kind of gotten less of the attention of the Tigers, but still, Balmain complain if they get more. Like, I don't know. Anyway, the Western Suburbs Magpies are one of the foundation clubs. Technically, they're not around, but they're kind of around, not really. I don't know. They call Campbelltown Sports Stadium their home for, I think, the last few years of their existence. They've won 4 premierships sporadically through their existence, and yeah, they actually are the Tigers' feeder club in the New South Wales Cup, and haven't had much success. So that worked out well, didn't it? Yeah, so they are the reason why the Tigers have Campbelltown, why they have that area, which some people say it's like just as home to rugby league as Penrith is. Yeah, the Magpies, well, they won 4 premierships and would have the most wooden spoons, I think, with 18. So the Magpies weren't really a great team. The Tigers' first season will be decent, as they finished 10th, with some highlights being drawing against the eventual premiers, the Broncos, and winning their first ever game at Leichhardt Oval against the Warriors by 1 point, which would also be their first ever win. 2001 wouldn't be as good, as they finished 12th, 3.5 wins outside the 8. 2002 would be just about the same, as they finished 13th, where they also finished in 2003, which at the time was 3rd last. Although in 2003, we would see one of the greatest players in the modern era, Benji Marshall. More on him later. 2004 will be a great year. The Tigers would finish 9th, just falling short of finals. 2005. The Tigers, despite sitting 12th at mid-season, the Tigers would take hold of this season and finish in the top 4. Because of the McIntyre final system, they would play the 5th place Cowboys in the qualifying final. They would win 50-6 in an excellent display from Brett Hodgson. They would then meet the Broncos at Allianz Stadium in a game where the Broncos had a lot of field position early. But Benji Marshall would step up, coming up with an excellent try saver and an intercept that would lead the Tigers to a convincing 34-6 victory. The prelim final, they would play the other merger team, the St George Illawarra Dragons, in a game that Benji Marshall described as the most physical he'd ever played. The Tigers brand, though, would take control and they'll go through to their first ever grand final, winning 20-12, and they would play the North Queensland Cowboys a team coming off a 29-0 battering of the minor premiers. Still though, Tigers won 50-6 in the qualifying final. What could possibly go wrong? This game will be a much tighter affair though. The score was locked at 6 after 34 minutes of play, when Benji Marshall would set up one of the greatest tries in rugby league history, and the Tigers would run out winners 30-16, with Scotty Prince picking up the Clive Churchill medal and giving the Tigers a brilliant win. For the Tigers, 2006 wouldn't be that great, as the Tigers had finished 11th, a pretty poor finish, especially after a premiership. 2007 will be better, despite losing the Clive Churchill winning halfback Scotty Prince to the new expansion team, the Gold Coast Titans. The Tigers had finished 9th. 2008 will be another year of finishing just outside the 8th, finishing 10th, 2 wins outside the 8th. 2009 would be Benji in his prime years, but the Tigers had finished 9th. Yet again behind the Eels, as they'd finished behind the Eels, who'd go on to make the grand final that year, and the Tigers got one more win, they'd finished 7th. 2010 and 2011 would both be great years for the Tigers, as they'd finished in top 4 for both years. In 2010, they played the Sydney Roosters in one of the best finals matches of all time, and they would lose due to a Sean Keener intercept try at the 99th minute of game time, giving the game going to extra time. In week 2, they would find a way to beat the Canberra Raiders away from home and then win the throw 26-24. I'll go through the preliminary final, and they play the Dragons in one of the great prelims, and many consider as the real 2010 grand final, as both teams were the former teams in the comp. In 2011 would be much the same, as the Tigers would finish 4th. Due to the McIntyre final system, the Tigers would play the reigning premiers and 5th place Dragons in the qualifying final. They would win, and they would play the Warriors, led by young Shaun Johnson, and coming up a 4-10 loss, and they had beat the top Warriors twice this year. The Tigers, though, would take a 14-point lead as Christian Eriksen would score a controversial try that ended the Tigers' season. Despite this, many people thought the Tigers could win the premiership in 2012, as they were a young team on the ropes. Going into 2012, a lot of people thought the Tigers could maybe win the premiership. They were smoky, but they were actually a pretty good chance. Considering they'd gone close on multiple occasions, with a heartbreak prelim loss in 2010 and a heartbreaking semi-final loss against the Warriors. They would start the season 1-5, despite rocking back to the top 4 at mid-season with a 7-game winning streak. The Tigers won would fizzle out as they finished 10th, a win outside the 8. 2013 would be, at the time, the worst year in the Tigers' history, as they would finish second last, just 2 wins ahead of the dreadful Parramatta Eagles. Despite losing Benji Marshall to Super Rugby, the Tigers would start 2014 5-2. Despite finishing just 2 wins outside the 8, the Tigers finished 13th, which is a cruel blow, considering they were in and around the top 8 for pretty much all the season. The Tigers' 2015 season wouldn't be a great year. They finished 15th, missing out spooned by 40 games, just ahead of the dreadful Newcastle Knights. 2016 would be a drastic improvement though, with their spine creating great attack for the Tigers. That would be very damaging, especially in the early part of the year. 2017 would be pretty poor, as they finished 14th, which is pretty poor considering they finished 9th. 2016. The Tigers needed someone who could lead. They would sack their coach and get former Penrith coach, coach of the year for Penrith, Ivan Cleary. "2018 will be the first and last full year of the Ivan Cleary era at the West Tigers, where it's on a ton of players, and of course, Benji Marshall would return to the Tigers. The Tigers would start 2018 off 5-2, including beating the two eventual grand finalists. They beat the Storm twice. Despite finishing 9th, the Tigers would be 3 whole wins outside the 8. The 3 full years of Michael Maguire were okay. In 2019, the Tigers were just 4th short of finals, crumbling under the pressure against the Sharks at Leichhardt Oval in the last round. If they win, they make finals. 2020 would obviously be a year ravaged by the pandemic. The Tigers in 2020 would be inconsistent, never really being able to get their game going, and finish 11th. 2021 would be Major's last full year at the helm, and the Tigers would have patches of great footy and patches of really bad footy. The Tigers would finish 13th, even though they would just finish 2 wins outside the top 8. "2022 will be the start of the worst years in the Tigers' history. Their new logo might have actually made them worse. They'd start 0-5, being competitive in pretty much one of those games, or being actually impressive. But they'll get 2 wins in a row against the eventual grand finalists Parramatta and eventual losing grand finalist of the previous year's grand final, South Sydney. They would lose, and then they'd win in round 11 against the Bulldogs, and would be relatively impressive. In round 12, though, after they lost to South Sydney, where they lost the second half 32-0, Michael Maguire would get sacked, and Brett Kamali would step in as interim coach. And his first few weeks were pretty disastrous, and the Tigers would only pick up 1 win under him, which was a round 20 win against the Brisbane Broncos, in a game where I was actually at. The last 5 rounds for the Tigers were disgraceful, including a 72-6 loss against the Sydney Roosters, which at the time was their biggest ever loss, and a 56-10 loss against the Raiders at home, which I don't think we need much explaining to do, considering it's at Leichhardt Oval, the ground that the Tigers are meant to be good at. 2023 would be slightly better. The Tigers would have a lot of hype coming into the season, though, as they'd have some new signings, like Charlie Staines, David Clemmer, Appy Coruscant, Isaiah Papali'i, John Bateman, and I think there's more. The Tigers, with all those good players, surely it would be good, right? The Tigers would start 0-7, but they'll pick up a bit of form, winning 3 of 4 games between round 9 and round 12, with a win against Penrith 12-8 and one of the best wins in their history. They would beat the Dragons in Magic Round, which admittedly wasn't as good, but we still won. Round 11 they would lose to Souths 20-0, and at the time that wasn't a bad performance. The defence actually stood up pretty well. Round 12 no one saw coming. Well, some people thought the Tigers would win, but I don't think anyone thought we'd win 66-18 and score our highest ever score. 6 weeks later, and we're losing to the Cowboys 74-0. Gee. In Townsville, a place that we had been robbed the year before. I'm surprised I haven't brought that up yet. And the Tigers, despite picking up 1 more win against the expansion team, the Redcliffe Dolphins, they'd still finished last. The 2024 season for the West Tigers would start off relatively well, starting off 2-1. Despite a kind of poor performance against the Raiders, the Tigers would get 2 pretty good wins against the Sharks and the Eels in back-to-back weeks. The Tigers, though, would lose 9 in a row. Not good. They'll play the Titans. They'll get back-to-back wins, though, against the Titans and Raiders, with both being impressive in different ways. One with attack, the other with defence. Again, though, they would lose 7 in a row. Again, being competitive in pretty much all those games. The one thing that really let the Tigers down was Sinburns having the most ever in rugby league history. The Tigers, though, would pick up 2 more wins in back-to-back weeks, with, again, one being more impressive than the other. One being against South Sydney, the team that finished literally 16th, and Manly, a team that made it to the second week of finals. In the last round, they would actually have something to play for the first time since 2019. They'd play off in a spoon bowl against the Parramatta Eels, in a game where they would get absolutely destroyed, and they'd crumble, and yep, they'd finish last. But we'll pick up 2 more wins than the previous seasons where they finished last, and we would see some breakout years from players like Lockie Galvin, Fanua Pole, and Samuel Afino. The future of the West Tigers, it looks bright. And a lot of young talent coming through in their team. The sons of Jerome Luai, Sinia Turuva, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird, and Gerald Skelton look like a great fit on this team for the future. The Tigers can intend to be the best Western Sydney cap if they can have Western this point to get better. They've got a very inexperienced coach. Can this team take the next step? Can the Tigers, I don't know, at least contend with the 8 next year? Because the new signings look pretty good. Jerome Luai led New South Wales to an origin run. Anyways, that's it for this sort of, I guess you call it like a mini documentary on the Tigers history. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe. If you enjoy this content, comment down below what you think how the Tigers will go next year. Even though the season ended last week, do you think this team can take the next step? If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever that is. Peace.
We are the Tigers in black, white and gold, stout-hearted men, all fit and bold. Watch us make a break and see us score a try. Our motto is do or die.